Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for making yourselves available. My name is Sam Bregman. I'm the Bernalillo County District Attorney. The reason that I've called this news conference today is because of the significant public attention this case has generated. This news conference provides us with an opportunity for our office to address the numerous media inquiries all at once. First and foremost, it's important to emphasize that the defendant, Timothy Busfield, is presumed innocent and until and unless he is proven guilty in a court of law. I want to go over the timeline of the recent events in this case. An arrest warrant for the defendant was issued on January 9th, 2026 and approved by my office. 5 days later, the defendant voluntarily turned himself in and was booked into the Metropolitan Detention Center in Albuquerque on January 13th. The defendant is currently charged with 2 counts of criminal sexual contact of a minor, child under 13, and 1 count of child abuse. Under New Mexico law, each count of criminal sexual contact carries up to 6 years of incarceration, and child abuse carries up to 3 years. On Wednesday, the defendant made his initial appearance before a Metropolitan Court judge. At the hearing, the judge ordered the defendant be detained at this time due to our request that he remain in custody pending trial. The district attorney's office routinely files pretrial detention motions involving cases that have these types of charges. Our office has indeed filed a motion for pretrial detention, requesting that the defendant remain in custody while his case proceeds through the courts. The case has now been transferred to district court. Judge Murphy will have a hearing on January 20th at 2 p.m. to determine whether the defendant will remain in custody or be released pending trial. After that hearing, we will bring formal charges against the defendant. The defendant will be arraigned on the formal charges. The court will then set a scheduling conference where deadlines will be established, at which time a trial date will be set. As with all criminal cases referred to my office, my prosecutors will fully evaluate this matter and proceed based on the evidence and in the interest of justice. Anyone with information relating to this matter should contact law enforcement. Our priority is to protect the rights of everyone involved. That is why at this time, we will not discuss the facts of this case. We understand, trust me, I understand. I understand there is great interest regarding the facts and the specifics of this matter. But my first obligation and the obligation of my office is to ensure the integrity of this process. The rules of professional conduct are clear. That prosecutors should try cases in the courtroom and not in the media. And that is what we intend to do. Now, based on what I've just told you, if there are questions, I'm happy to answer them, but recognize, please, that I'm going to be limited because, as I said, I'm not going to discuss the specific facts of this case. The professional rules of conduct don't allow me to do that. So if there are things I can answer in a general sense, I will. But and I know they may be frustrated. But I just want you all to know one of the reasons I had this was because our office has been bombarded, and we welcome, and we're transparent. We welcome the media and the fact that you all are seeking information. And there's been so many inquiries from across this country, across this state, and across the world, quite frankly, that we wanted to make sure that we could do this as much as possible at once so that we wouldn't have individual outlets being very, very frustrated with us. So with that said, is there a particular question that I could answer? Yes?
Have you guys received any additional calls from other potential victims? If so, how many?
I'm not going to specifically address that. I will tell you that this matter is very much still under investigation.
You talked about patterns of grooming and behavior that was very inappropriate. Can you get into any of those details as far as what your investigators have uncovered?
I appreciate the question, and I think you are referring to, I didn't just speak to that, but I think you're referring to the arrest warrant and the criminal complaint. There are 3 documents currently filed in court. One of them is an arrest warrant and criminal complaint. Another one is a motion for pretrial detention. Those documents, if you want to look for answers to those particular questions, those documents I think you can see, and they contain the allegations in this matter. But I'm not just going to simply regurgitate those documents. It's not appropriate. But I will tell you that those documents do exist, and I encourage anyone who doesn't have a copy of any particular document to let us know or to go to the courts and get a copy, because you can get that. Yes, sir.
Yes, DA Bregman, is there concerns in a general sense that when someone is accused that they post a video saying that they'll defend the allegations and then go all the way up to 9 Mile Hill and turn themselves into the jail?
Well, again, I'm not going to speak to the specifics of, and I think you're referring to the defendant in this matter. I'm not going to speak to specifics of what he did or didn't do prior to turning himself in. We're going to focus on presenting our case to the court. Our immediate focus is on that pretrial detention motion, and that's what we're going to concern ourselves with at this point. Yes?
Timothy Busfield's attorney says that he conducted an independent polygraph in the past. What does that say about your investigation? Is that something that would be admissible?
I will tell you, I'm not going to speak to what the defendant's attorney is going to do or has done. I'm going to speak to what we are, the investigation that law enforcement is doing together with our office, and I'll speak to that, or our prosecutors will speak to that in a courtroom.
Can you talk at all about just your concerns about these allegations? They're very serious.
I will say this in general. In this office, the district attorney's office in Albuquerque takes very seriously these type of charges, just like we do all the cases. Our job is to hold people accountable, and that's what we do. And obviously, I have personally tried cases involving child abuse and sexual assaults. And we focus on that in a big way in this office. We hold everybody accountable, and they're extremely serious.
Is there any sense of a court date that has been set, or is that still being discussed?
So, again, just to kind of talk about that specifically. So the pretrial detention motion that's going to be heard is the first next thing that's going to happen. That's January 20th at 2 p.m. in front of Judge Murphy. Next, after that, we'll be bringing formal charges. After that hearing, we'll be bringing formal charges. Then he'll be arraigned. Then a pretrial conference, or a scheduling conference, if you will be set, in which deadlines and dates will be established by the court. And part of that will include a trial setting. So we don't know that yet. I will tell you that overall, most of the time, these type of cases take between a year and 18 months to complete. And I don't see why this shouldn't reflect the same kind of time frame. But again, I don't speak for judges and their dockets. They get to speak for themselves on that.
On January 20th, is there a chance that he will be released?
That's completely up to the judge. That is absolutely right. There is a chance that he'll be released. That decision will be made by the judge. We are filing a pretrial detention motion, and our concerns are articulated in that, why we are asking the court to hold the defendant detained pending trial. It's pretty much laid out in that pretrial detention motion, and I would direct you to see what the reasons are for that, to that document, to see what the reasons are.
So will
D.A.
you
Bregman?
fight that he be detained?
Excuse me?
Will you suggest that he should be detained? Will
Oh,
you
we
take-
already, the prosecution, the state of New Mexico has already filed that motion to detain him. Yes.
Can you talk about any of the previous history for Mr. Busfield?
No, but I won't do that right now. I will tell you that some of that is outlined in the documents that have been filed in court. Yes.
Can you tell us about your department that handles this type of case, highlighting how many people that go after predators and people that group children?
I'll just tell you in general about my office. We have close to, I think, 120 prosecutors in this office. We have some of the most amazing, fantastic prosecutors who have done it many years, including child abuse and child sexual assaults. I'm very proud of them. They do hard work and they bring justice for the people of this county. And they do great work. And I have been able to try cases with them as co-chairs in the courtroom, and I'm constantly impressed by their professionalism and their abilities in the courtroom. Yes.
You guys are requesting that he stays locked up during these court proceedings. Usually that's out of safety concerns for himself or other people. What is it about Timothy Busfield that makes you concerned if he is released?
Just to be clear, we file motions routinely on cases like this that have the same type of charges. This is something we do, and it's not specific to this case. This is it may be in some respects, but overall, this is what we do. We ask for pretrial detention motions in cases like this, and certainly that is what we're doing in this case. Pretrial detention motions in general are filed because the DA's office believes that for the safety of the community's sake, it is important that they remain in custody because of the danger to the community, and no reasonable conditions can be set to guarantee that safety for the community. That's why we have filed our pretrial detention motions in cases across the board, and we file a lot of them. I think over last year we had over 800 defendants detained pretrial. In New Mexico, some time ago, we changed our bail system. We no longer really have the normal bail system. It's either you're in or you're out. And if you're out, it means the judge has determined that they can be conditions of release that can be fashioned that will secure the safety of the community. If you're not out, then there's not, at least in the judge's opinion, there's not things that can be put in place to preserve the safety of the community.
And D.A. Bregman, Timothy Busfield is defending himself, going on camera saying that these are all lies. How confident are you that this case is solid?
Well, listen, I'll just talk in general, and I think you'll hear my answer on that. This office, we have a very clear, high standard of professionalism. We don't bring cases forward. We don't agree to prosecute any case unless we believe beyond a reasonable doubt that we can convict them.
No doubt?
Beyond a reasonable doubt, as I said.
Do you have any doubts?
So I'm not going to get into that kind of an answer. We are going to argue and provide evidence to a jury of his peers in the future, and we'll wait till then to comment. Okay. Yes?
Mr. Bregman, is there any statement that you would like to say to any victims or potential victims that may come forward?
No, listen, in general, not specifically even to this case whatsoever, of course we want victims and survivors to always contact this office. We have a very large victims advocate unit here in this office. We're very proud of the work we do with all types of victims. But I would encourage, as I said earlier, anyone with information about this should please contact law enforcement, please. All right then. Thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it. Thank you.